After more than a year, a new Rick and Morty season is finally coming. The show has released a new season every year since season 5, a streak now broken by the new release date, May 25th. The delay is due to the 2023 Hollywood writers' strike, which pushed back the production of the upcoming episodes. Since those issues have been resolved, we can expect season 9 to arrive much earlier than season 8. Adult Swim has finally released the official trailer for Season 8, along with its episode titles and pencil sketches, which give us more insight into what the episodes will be about. The name of the first episode is Summer of All Fears. The first episode seems to have a Matrix-style theme. Based on the title, we can guess that the episode will revolve around fear, most likely involving summer, similar to how the final episode of Season 8 was centered on Morty. However, based on the sketch and the promotional image, it seems this episode won't focus on the fear hole shown in Fear No Mort. In the sketch, we can see Summer, Morty, and Rick, presumably in Rick's basement. It looks like this episode will be mostly focused on summer, and based on both the title and the image, I think it'll explore the concept of harvesting energy from fear. Also, a month ago, Rick and Morty released official character designs on their Instagram, one of which featured adult Summer, who will be making her debut in the series, who I assume makes her debut in this episode. It's exciting to see a new version of her. Beside the Cronenberg and Night versions, we haven't really seen many alternate Summers, so it'll be great to see her in a new design. Her grown-up corporate look makes me think we might be seeing her in a possible future timeline, similar to how Morty's future life was portrayed in a montage in the season 7 finale. Her professional appearance suggests she might end up being much more successful than her father. It looks like Morty and Rick will be off on a solo adventure, leaving Beth to take care of Summer, who might be trying to escape the Matrix. We see Beth using mind blowers to erase Summer's memories as an adult, or at least that's what it seems like. The name of the next episode is Valkyric, and it's going to focus on Space Beth. After her introduction, she became part of the Smith family, but ended up being sidelined with very little screen time. I'm glad this episode centers on her. She's a fascinating character. She essentially replaced Rick as a rebel fighter, and in the comics, it's revealed that she joined the Freedom Fighters alongside Bird Person, successfully stepping into her father's shoes. In the episode sketch, we see her fighting against the Intergalactic Federation, and I'm excited to see them make a return. In the earlier seasons, they were one of the major threats in the universe. I'd even say they were the primary antagonists before Evil Morty and Rick Prime were introduced. The Federation was a massive galactic organization that controlled vast parts of the universe until Rick dismantled it in the Rick Shank Redemption. The surviving faction, seemingly led by Tammy Guterman, stuck around till her death in Star Mort Rick Turn of the Jerry. The last time we saw the Federation was in Rick Turnal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort, where we briefly saw Bird Daughter imprisoned due to her parentage. That scene confirmed that even though Rick nearly wiped them out, they quickly regained power and remain a serious threat. I think bringing them back is a great move. The series needed a large-scale villainous force again, and the new Galactic Federation fills that role well. Also, based on the background, it seems their new base might be on an aquatic planet, maybe underwater this time. It also looks like Space Beth and Rick will be spending a lot of time together in this episode. They're fighting the new Galactic Federation side by side, and I'm super hyped to see how their dynamic plays out. I assume they're infiltrating one of the Federation's scientific bases in search of a cure for some kind of disease that Space Beth seems to have. Strangely, it appears this scientific district doesn't know who Rick Sanchez is or what he's capable of, which is super weird. The third episode is titled The Rick, the Morty, and the Ugly, clearly a nod to Sergio Leone's timeless classic The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. In the sketch, we see Rick and Morty crash landing their spaceship on what looks like a farm. The ship is heavily damaged, forcing them to land. As Rick is repairing it, the duo is approached by a mysterious character, but before we can see who it is, the sketch moves on to the next episode. However, a month ago on Instagram, the show revealed a new character design, Homesteader Rick. This version hasn't appeared in any Citadel episodes and is debuting for the first time. His simple rural lifestyle suggests he was never affiliated with the Citadel to begin with. Speaking of the Citadel, it appears to be making a comeback, being rebuilt for the third time. In the promotional image for this episode, we see a building under construction that strongly resembles the Citadel. Also, the next picture we get from that Instagram post might show where Homesteader Rick lives. In the image, we can see strange green lightning in the sky, the same color usually associated with Rick's portal technology. I doubt the central finite curve is being rebuilt again, but I'm definitely curious about the origin of that light. Besides Homesteader Rick, we're also introduced to two new Ricks this season, Boss Hog Rick and Constellatio Rick. Interestingly, Boss Hog Rick didn't appear in Gotron Jerry's Rick Vangelion, which featured several Mafia-style Ricks, so maybe he's the real deal after all. At the beginning of the trailer, we see that the old Citadel has crashed onto a planet. Judging by the sci-fi truck, we can assume the surviving Ricks and Mortys are building a new Citadel here, this time on the planet itself rather than as a giant spaceship like before. I'm curious about what kind of government this new Citadel will have. So far, the Ricks and Mortys we see in this scene seem to be modeled after various characters from the 20th century. Based on his appearance and position, it looks like Boss Rick will be in charge of the new Citadel. Unfortunately, things don't seem to have changed much for the average Morty, as we still see them being bullied by Ricks. There's also an interesting new version of Rick making his debut in this episode. I get the feeling he doesn't agree with the new Citadel, and if I had to make a wild guess, I'd say he could end up being one of the most important characters, if not the most important one in this season. Either way, I'm most hyped for this episode. It's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most this season, and I'm sure it won't disappoint. The title of the next episode is The Last Temptation of Jerry. We actually know a bit more about this one compared to the others since it was teased by Adult Swim 2 days ago and used as the official teaser for the season. It seems the episode will have two storylines, one focused on Jerry and the other on Rick and Morty. On Jerry's side, we see how excited he is about Easter. He decorates the whole house by himself, but his enthusiasm isn't shared by the rest of the Smith family. Morty tells him to leave him alone because he's busy playing Fortnite as JFK, and Summer casually dismisses him. Jerry also tries talking to Beth, but she's engrossed in a TV show that weirdly resembles the one the Smith family was watching in episode 8 of season 1. He even approaches Rick, who's just doing Rick things. Still, I thought it was a nice touch that Jerry considered spending time with Rick, something he wouldn't have done in earlier episodes. The secondary plot, which focuses on Rick and Morty, follows them as they attend an Easter celebration in Germany. It looks like they're searching for Easter eggs and they discover one in Andromeda. Soon after, they realize that they're not the only ones after it. They're approached by space Christians who are looking for an Easter rabbit that had previously made contact with Rick. It seems Rick and Morty will end up helping this rabbit in some way, possibly by finding its Easter eggs or something similarly bizarre. The next episode is titled Cryo Morty, a Rickover. Thankfully, we know a bit more about this one too, since it was the very first teaser Adult Swim released for the season way back in October. The episode starts with Rick and Morty listening to a podcast which quickly bores them. Fortunately, their ship alerts them about another ship drifting through space. Rick gets excited and rushes over to investigate. When they board the ship, they find several frozen people. They soon learn that these individuals left their planet after destroying it and are now searching for a new one. This excites Rick even more. He wants to rob them. Morty's hesitant but follows Rick anyway. Rick tries to hack into their computer, but the defense system denies access. So he decides to just destroy the security mechanism. Morty tries to stop him, but one of the bombs accidentally goes off, causing a cryo awakening. Despite the chaos, Rick is still determined to steal their hyper coal. He sneaks into the frozen chamber and pretends to be one of the cryo-frozen people. Before we see what happens next, the teaser cuts off. However, based on the promotional image, we can assume that Rick and Morty will join the frozen travelers on their journey to a new planet. Rick may try to gain their trust and steal their hyper coal, similar to how he stole Isotope 322 from the post-apocalyptic world in Season 3, Episode 2. Also worth noting, based on the promotional image and the trailer, we can also see that Rick impersonates a Constellation Rick. Judging by his clothing, it looks like he's pretending to be the leader of a planet, but once the people there find out the truth, they start chasing Rick and Morty. Still, Rick doesn't give up until he gets their hyper coal. I'm not sure if the vehicle we see is a transformation of his regular spaceship, but its appearance is noticeably different from other versions we've seen before. The next episode is titled Curious Case of Benjamin Button, clearly a reference to one of my favorite movies ever, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It looks like this episode will focus on both Space Beth and regular Beth. It's been a while since we had an episode centered on her. The sketch highlights how different their lives are. One of them is headed to St. Equi's hospital, while the other is out battling space aliens. It seems the episode builds up a whole plot centered on both Beths truly coming to terms with who they are, clone or not. Maybe this will finally be the episode where they reveal outright which Beth is the clone and which is the real one. The promotional image reminds me a lot of Beth's Fruity Land, so maybe we'll even get a small flashback of Beth as a kid. That would be a really cool throwback. The episode that follows is Ricker Than Fiction, which is clearly going to be an interdimensional cable episode. Finally, after all these years, we're getting a third one. The last time we had one was back in Season 2, Episode 8, which came out in 2015. That was 10 years ago. which honestly makes me feel old, not gonna lie. I'm really curious if we'll get closure on what happened to Jan Michael Vincent, or if the two brothers skit gets a sequel. In the episode sketch, we see decorative plants attacking what looks like a humanoid cactus. Strangely, they're being ridiculed by what seem to be regular humans, and the plants themselves appear surprised by this reaction. Makes me wonder, are they being framed or misunderstood? Intriguing stuff. Next up is No Mort Land, which seems like it's going to be a Jerry and Rick focused episode. The sketch shows a tropical setting, and we later learn that a whole neighborhood has been flooded, except for the Smith house, which remains above water. The name and promotional image are both super interesting. The title might hint at an episode without Morty, while the image shows the Smith house looking abandoned and frozen. My first thought was that this might be set in the Prime dimension, but the thing is, there's not much left there. The rest of the Prime universe Smith family is dead now, even Rick Prime. The only one left is Morty, so I doubt there's much left to explore in the Prime dimension unless there's a twist. Maybe Rick Prime had some kind of Phoenix protocol for Beth Prime, and our Rick C-137 never knew. That could open up a really compelling story, especially for our main Morty, since he's Morty Prime, and it would be interesting for him to meet his actual mom again. It would also affect our Rick if she found out he wasn't her real father and then realized he killed her actual father. Still, the sketch doesn't give any concrete hints about the Prime dimension. It looks more like a chill, slice-of-life Rick and Jerry episode. Judging by Jerry's beard, they've likely spent quite a bit of time together. Maybe it's a Life Without Morty kind of episode where they end up in a dimension where almost all humans are gone. The next episode is Morty Daddy. In this one, it looks like Rick and Summer are spending time together while Morty, and likely the rest of the Smith family, is busy dealing with Morty's son, Morty Jr., who's making his return to the series. Adult Swim already teased his new design. The last time we saw him was in the same episode he debuted in, Raising Gazorpazorps, specifically in the post-credits scene. There, an older Morty Jr. is interviewed about his book, My Horrible Father. He'd managed to suppress his Gazorpian instincts, but expressed a cynical and bitter view of his childhood. He resented Morty for keeping him in prison, even though Morty did it out of fear that Morty Jr. would give in to his violent and sadistic tendencies. Because of his Gazorpian genes, he aged rapidly and is now older than Rick, despite only being about a year old. Their last interaction was very tense, so it'll be interesting to see how their dynamic has changed over the years. I expect we'll see Morty Jr.'s farewell in this episode. Given his biology, I doubt he'll be around for much longer. Maybe his final wish is to return to his home planet, Gazorpazorp Field. Even though he hails from there, he's never actually visited. A return to that planet would be fascinating, and I'd love to see if their society has evolved at all since Rick and Summer last encountered them. And finally, we have the last episode of the season, Hot Rick. This one appears to be memory-based. In the background of the sketch, we see a memory of Jerry, though only a small portion of the screen is visible, so it's hard to say exactly what memory it is. From what we can see, I'm guessing it could be about his marriage to Beth or maybe Summer's birth. I'm expecting this episode to give us some deeper insight into Jerry's background, possibly even his childhood. The reason this memory stuff is happening in the first place is likely because of Memory Rick, who last appeared in Jerrick Trap. In that episode, Rick and Jerry's minds accidentally merge, and Memory Rick helps save both of their consciousnesses in an unseen sequence described as a whole action movie. After their minds are separated, Memory Rick gets stranded inside Jerry's brain. The issue? Jerry's mind sees all technology as springs and gears, preventing Memory Rick from building anything to escape. He's stuck, tormented by Memory Gene, and starts making sculptures out of salvaged gears. Jerry probably starts noticing something odd with his memories and asks Rick to investigate. At the end of Jerrick Trap, Rick offers to make Memory Rick real so they can have a beer together. Memory Rick initially refuses, worried that becoming real would mean turning into present Rick, but I think he's changed his mind. He seemed pretty fed up being stuck in Jerry's head. I'm really hyped for his return, and I'm curious what he'll do if he actually gets a physical body. Anyway, that's all for today. What do you think about this season? What are your expectations, and whose return are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more Rick and Morty breakdowns. Thanks for watching.